Good morning, marketers, and welcome to the If You Market podcast, brought to you by Mountaintop Data and Johto PR. We are the only podcast that markets the shit out of it. I'm Sky Cassidy, and today we'll be talking with international lifestyle consultant Emily Belyaev-Braun about your new freedom of movement, basically, and what that means, and the ability to take your job anywhere for so many of us now, or so many of you now. Emily was born in Soviet Moldova, lives in Toronto now, has a business located in Mexico. Emily, can you tell us a little bit about your company? I guess I want to jump, because it's so close to the topic, straight into you talking about your company, yourself, and your journey to this from Soviet Moldova to Toronto, and advising people, helping people relocate all around the world.
Hello, I'm Emily Belyaev-Braun. Yes, I was born years ago in Moldova. I lived in what is now independent Republic of Ukraine. I lived a little bit in Russia. I lived for years in Israel. And for 24 years, I'm already located in Toronto, Canada. And changing the several professions over my lifespan. Currently, I'm developing my last project, which I'm very excited to share with you. I'm owner of international lifestyle consulting company, which is helping people to find the destination, create personal plan, and customize solution for the best place for life, work, and retirement overseas, based on a customer budget, personal preferences, desired lifestyle, and connecting with reliable local professionals abroad. So my company services are available for personal relocation advices, as well for companies who are looking to expand their reach about remote works location. So I can advise on different topics in this direction.
So you're basically saying we've got listeners who are in a job, and let's go with your location there. They're living in Toronto. They're working there. They've been working home for the last year, maybe. They're on lockdown, and they're thinking, wait a second. Once this lockdown lifts, I can go from where Sky's at right now in this dumpster fire of an office to where Emily's at on some tropical paradise. I'd much rather live there than in Toronto, or maybe just half the year I'll go there and then half the year I'll go somewhere else. That basically, a lot of people now have this freedom of movement as soon as we're actually allowed to move, because so many of us suddenly aren't tied location wise to our job. Like, suddenly you don't have to come into the office every day. Like, COVID has given us this huge leap forward in companies allowing people to work remotely, and what they realize, how it can work so well working remotely. And now you don't have to work in, you don't have to live in the suburbs of Detroit, or in Toronto, or in Los Angeles, in some terrible place, or in some expensive place. Or now for many people, suddenly you can take your job anywhere you want around the country, internationally. And that's basically what your company does, right? Is help people move, not in a digital nomad style, but in kind of a more permanent or semi-permanent move.
What I'm offering, the lifestyle options might be full-time, part-time, or actually preparation for your new adventure. And by the way, personally, what I'm doing now, after spending time at home, confined in Canada, I'm developing my online business, my online presence, the business that I can take with me to many destinations that I might find myself, based on circumstances, interested to be. In actually answering your question, there are some professional fields which already are working, remote mode for years, like marketers. Different type of software engineering work online, and we know about outsourcing, offshoring, say for India. But now we can entertain different lifestyle based on our professions. And by the way,
Right.
what I'm saying, if you don't have yet the professions that you can take with you or your online company or presence, my first advice would be start to think in this direction. Build something. I understand it's not probably for industrial workers,
Right.
but there is more and more professions or people who change their professions actually to live new lifestyle, which now we have
You can
more.
always change your job too. Like you work in an industrial factory, you can say, hey, what jobs allow remote working? And maybe I'm not going to be in this factory anymore. I'm just going to go to somewhere tropical and start over.
It's what
Um,
I did. Like, okay, I was IT professional working, but mostly in the offices. I was engineer, like, but now I decided there is my time to live differently. I've had my travel company, which I turned out to be now independent, international lifestyle consulting. So we have a lot of topics we can, develop in this direction, and starting even from mindset, how to prepare yourself and what you need to do. It's very interesting, and our time and our after COVID life, I would say, I believe might open even more opportunities on a personal level for people to live in places of their dream or to relocate under different circumstances, cost of living, political changes in the country, economical changes. Somebody will look just for different scenery and climate. Climate might be important as well.
right. And some people just want to get away from the town they've been locked down in for so long. Whether from COVID or pre-COVID, they just, you know, you're in a town, you're fixed there. It doesn't feel like you can just pick up and move anywhere. And we always saw those people that, oh, they just put all their stuff in a car and drove somewhere else and put down. Well, now you can actually be a little better planned when you go there. But I don't know. So many of us have this easy rider. We can just go across the country, and I keep saying us, but it's not me. I'm tied down a little bit family wise. But so many people now, their jobs will allow them. So many marketers, so many. You mentioned IT people. A lot of IT work would be sent overseas and outsourced, but now, we may have people in Silicon Valley who are like wanting to outsource themselves, and they're like, wait a second, why don't I go live in India? Why don't I go live in some other country, wherever I want to go? Lower cost of living. I don't need to be in the San Francisco Bay Area paying a fortune, having, not liking where I live, living a tiny apartment. I'm going to go somewhere nice and do my same job, because now, silver lining of COVID, this remote work thing is being, I mean, all it really is it's being accepted. Like managers, we had an episode on a couple of years ago, and the lady on that episode was a remote work specialist, and she was saying the biggest obstacle is managers accepting it. Once we force them, once we get them to try it, they say, oh, there's no problem with this. A lot more of our employees could do this. It's a better quality of life, cut down the commute. Forget about all that stuff. All of a sudden, everybody was forced to accept remote work. And now we're in this different world. And on this episode, I want to get to a lot of things. Companies, they're hiring, how this affects that, political stuff. But I think maybe we'll do those things in the second half. Let's stick here with kind of getting this mindset into people's heads of how this works and what the options are, that kind of thing. Are there, I mean, what are the critical things people need to consider when thinking about, like, okay, I can just get up and move, but where am I going to go? And, what's the situation like there? I imagine there's healthcare, there's infrastructure, all but the politics. Um, can you go over some of the most important things?
Certainly, certainly. And actually, that's why I created my consulting company, and I'm working daily. I was collecting information, researching for years before for myself and my friends. And now I'm doing kind of, for large public, with understanding that every situation is different, and we all have our like professional family budget and lifestyle desires and needs. That's why I am offering currently one-on-one consultation to help you guys at first to filter out what are the options in your particular case. So what I did, I created know yourself questionnaire, which can be uploaded from a consultation page on my website, and actually to have some time to if you have partner, by the way, spouse, it's very important to do it together because answers might be different, and it's better to knock it down, by the way, in advance.
If you want
And
to keep your partner or spouse, because if you do this without them, you may not have a partner or spouse anymore.
yes, about because I know, what might happen. Like it's work, but when you in advance get to agreement, and you know what you're looking for, and you send me the answers on the first consultation. And sometimes if it's a couple with both of you, we're going together, to knock down maybe some specifics, and based on it, we set a base for personal plan, what you need to consider. Like I have already an idea what countries might work for you based on your particular situation and even current location where you now. For example, Sky, for you, as far as I know, you are in California now. So
Los
for
Angeles, yeah.
uh, yes, for you as American, by the way, there is a big advantages to spend time in Mexico. First of all, you don't need any immigration papers. As American and Canadian, you can spend up to 6 months as a tourist. You can load your truck and move through the border, and actually free to go. And Mexico is the biggest #1 country for Americans and Canadians living abroad. So from 9 million of Americans who are already living abroad, I mean, officially on permanent base, #1, it's Mexico. And but even Mexico, it's a big country with different climate zone, different states. I mean, Mexican states of different, economical development, climate, and so for you, probably, I would advise to go after. I need to review it after the questionnaire. Playa del Carmen in Riviera Maya. It's there's a lot of Americans, Canadians, and Europeans, digital nomad already hanging out for years. There are a lot of co-working, co-living places there. There's a lot of families here from United States as well. By the way, they have even international schools in English because, the market is already in demand, and Mexico offering several different hubs for digital nomads, for expats, I mean, baby boomers. It all depends on situation.
So you mentioned co-working spaces, and I'm thinking a couple of things. When you say Mexico, one of the first things I think is security. Like, okay, where are the areas where it's safe to go? But then also co-working. There are these co-working spaces before COVID, but I imagine it's going to be a lot more popular now. So in people's minds, they think, oh, I can move somewhere else and I'll work from home just like I am now. But they don't necessarily have to. There can be these co-working spaces are like offices, but instead of having all the employees from your company, they're just random employees from all different companies that are all working remotely in a co-working space. So maybe you work remotely from home a couple of days a week, and maybe you go into, if the place has these co-working spaces that, are sure to have quality internet access and facilities and interaction with other human beings while at work type of stuff. That seems like that would be key to a lot of people, that they would want to be near one of these sort of places.
It's very important, by the way, and co-working place is still important. Even you might have wonderful, internet connection at your home, because sometimes you need to have meeting, and they have meeting rooms, and actually maybe live meeting. It's what I know of. You don't need to have office. Once in a while, you're renting this facility for hour or two. I know it because my friends, my Mexican friends, what they do, and I'm connected with several startups in Mexico. It's one of my projects, like working here and there, having homes, they going to co-working place. There's other aspect, maybe not for you, but many digital nomads, they feel lonely. So for
I was
them,
gonna say the social part, like really,
social part, it's a
either
social,
you're going to work from home all day and become
yeah,
a raging alcoholic because as soon as you're done with your workday, you need people and you go to the local bar every day. Or maybe, the co-working space can get a little bit of that fix for you without having to drown yourself in alcohol every day.
it's about mindset a little bit, but yes, it's accountability partner you might have, or just, to discuss different ideas, or maybe brainstorm some. I know, again, the amount of startups even happening and growing now in Playa del Carmen, in this region. I just happen to know this region better personally because I have my apartment already and I'm visited several times. There's a lot of people who like this lifestyle and opportunity to meet other entrepreneurs and digital nomads from all countries of the world.
Yeah, the
Blind,
social part is huge. Like working from home is nice, but how do you get that human
yeah, but
interaction
all the
still?
combination, you can work from beach, for some time, you can work from home, but when you need office, when you need meeting, when you need to meet other professionals and maybe, brainstorm some ideas, or maybe get new company going on, with your new co-workers. So by the way, people like these places and they even prefer to live close to co-working places. It's, a lot of new things popping up and, making different sense recently.
I think Starbucks might want to open some co-working, Starbucks themed co-working places. People are already bringing their laptop and co-working in Starbucks. Just make it official and make them rent out a room.
And, and I know that a lot of cafes in Playa del Carmen full of digital nomads working sometime. Everyone has his kind of desk, but it's very interesting in new paradigm. The same it's happened in Europe. Like there are known hubs for digital nomads in Portugal, in Bulgaria, in Asia, Chiang Mai, but every situation is different based on where you're located now, what are your goals, what your family situation.
You have a questionnaire. Is one of the things on that questionnaire whether or not you need a Starbucks and Burger King or McDonald's, or like food needs? Because I imagine some people, I lived in a very small rural town. My wife hated going and traveling there for holidays, and then they had a coffee shop that wasn't Starbucks, but it was close enough, and suddenly she was like, "Oh, this is so much better. I can tolerate it now." I'm sure some people would say like, what are my options where I can find it? This is now a commercial for Starbucks.
You
Where I
know
can
what?
find a Starbucks.
Speaking about Starbucks, they completely okay because you can find Starbucks in every place in whole on the world.
Mhm.
At least in Playa del Carmen in Europe. But speaking about like American food, one of the questions I have on my questionnaire, it's actually if you need to have access to your food you like or used
Right.
to. Like for Americans, it might be this kind. For me, by the way, I'm not for American diet till now.
Mhm.
I have different diet, preferences. I have even this kind of question: how often you prefer to see American football? How often you need to go? By the way, it's part of your well-being. It's
That's a
part
good, yeah.
for
And
many
so,
people it's important. Like for me, it's important to go to museum. So I have question: what you prefer to do? To go to museum and spend time, in the woods, in the forest, and
right,
it's all. Everyone has his, priorities.
right. You like skiing, you like mountain biking, you like hiking, you like
That
surfing, like, and I
uh,
imagine just to your left, people can't see it and they think you're just in this remote island. There's a Starbucks just to her left. So don't worry. They're everywhere.
It might be Starbucks, it might be a local, Indian food for people, from Indian community. Like some people I prefer European food, and it's okay if I can live without it. But for some people, it's super important, or maybe even health, they're health related on kind of food. So I'm trying to make, there's no ideal places. And that's why priority should be given as well. And I'm saying in advance, on what you can kind of compromise your well-being,
Hmm.
what is more important for you. And by the way, one of the questions I have on my questionnaire: what view you prefer to have? Beach, mountain, crowded, city center, and some people like it,
Yeah.
including me, or maybe countryside, or maybe isolated island. You
Hmm.
know, I'm trying to consider many options which person might benefit.
That's fantastic. I imagine most people, if you ask where's your ideal place to live, if you could live anywhere, the vast majority of people would not say where they are now. Like there's things that they really don't like about where they are, and there's somewhere else they would rather be. And I guess the whole point of this episode is you can probably be there now. Like there's a lot of options, and all of a sudden this whole world is opened up to us, and you just have to go and start looking. And to be a little bit of pitching a little bit here, go to Emily's site. What is it? EmilyBraun.com. We'll have it in the show notes. And there's a lot more show to come. I'm just jumping this because it comes to mind. Like go to the site and take that questionnaire and just start the interaction to see, oh, here's my options. Here's the type of thing I can do. There's this whole new world opened up. One silver lining of COVID. Now so many of us can move anywhere we want, can travel around, can pick up and set down in some other place and work remotely and have the life you really want to have. Um, and it's just, I mean, the repercussions, I believe that this is going to just ripple everywhere. One of the reasons I was so excited to have you on, Emily, um, this is the biggest change we've probably seen in human freedoms since 1989, maybe since the wall coming down. Suddenly the percentage of people who are free, unchained from their job, that was really holding them down, even if you loved your job geographically, and now things are wide open for so many people. Not for everybody. Still, hey, you work as a plumber now, you can work as a plumber somewhere else. You work in a manufacturing plant now, you can get a different job. There's a lot of jobs out there, and that whole market is going to go crazy, I think. Like there's just, I don't know. We'll talk about that in the second half, but the hiring in companies and the balance of power now and the shift that's going to have when people can pick up and go anywhere and get hired from anywhere. We saw a little bit of this with the ability to outsource, but now you can hire locally and still outsource that kind of. You can, it's just tearing down all these boundaries, and I don't think anybody's quite ready for it. But unlike a lot of shifts in the past, I feel like this is going to bring a renaissance that people don't realize. Not only are we going to be excited to get out after COVID and go everywhere, but we're going to be actually able to, and not on a 3-day vacation type of a go everywhere. Like you can pack your suitcase and move, go anywhere.
But you need to be prepared somehow, to avoid mistakes and know in advance, depending on country, time, and many different factors. You need to be informed and maybe to make some steps in advance, not to be disappointed, or not to make mistakes. It's what I'm preaching. We
Yeah.
all kind of can buy ticket, or people say me, okay, we can find information in internet. Okay, go to the internet, but how to find what you need and how to know that a trusted source. I'm going through,
Yeah.
1,000 sources, and I'm subscribed to some publishing that for years, and I'm following or changing them based on circumstances or interest I have.
Yep. My wife and I did a digital nomad version of this. And what you're doing isn't really digital nomad. This is more freedom of relocation type of thing, where you really need to know more about the area, because you're not just going to leave it the next day. But we did a 6-month trip after we got married around Europe. I was working remotely, and even being able to move from one day to the next, when we made a terrible hotel choice and ended up in Slough outside of London, because it was called the airport hotel, but it was really this tiny little place way far away that the taxis wouldn't even drive us at that time of night. Like we didn't know that because we were just going off the cuff from day to day and maybe staying somewhere a week and stuff. But there wasn't much planning you could do for that length of a trip and that style of a trip. But if you're looking at picking up your family or picking up everything and setting down somewhere, you have the ability to now. The problem is, I guess, the information. You don't know
Sometimes
everywhere, but
too much
everybody does.
information, too
Yes.
much information, and forums. And how did I find who I can? I think, again, going back to questionnaire, and what I, by the way, advise my clients as well, after maybe a couple of months, to look again in your questionnaire, how might some answers change, or because all is changing very quickly now. And we need to be aware of economical changes in different countries, or countries where we live, countries we planning to go, political changes, immigration changes, laws. Schengen zone might change, already changing some of the rules. Each country, as we saw last year until now, changing a lot in regards to taxation, immigration, and so on. Obviously, it's hard to take and to know all this in advance. And I'm not Oracle, but by the way, I'm following trends over the last year, looking on reports where from investment migration is going on and to what countries. Like investment mostly going from China to Europe and North America. So you understand after investment, probably people will come as well.
Yeah.
And where people are going from these places, and it's different people. And again, today, a lot of information sometimes bring us to confusion. I'm trying to help people.
And on the internet, there's so much misinformation. So, and if you're looking to make a big move, like one of the things that keeps people in place. So we have a handful of things in the past. Your job, you can't move. Politics, you live in a country like Soviet Russia that does not allow you to move. Economics, you can't afford to move, but also just fear of what's out there. Where am I going to go? Like, I'm going to pick up everything and go somewhere and lose everything. I don't know where I'm going. And that's, again, not to make this a pitch. We'll pitch you later in the show, but that's where Emily comes in and knows these places. And basically it's a Sherpa. Like, you're going to climb Mount Everest, you need to have your guide and your Sherpa to help you climb Mount. This is Mount Everest of the world. Like, where am I going to go? I have all these options, but there's too many options. I need a trail guide to help point me in the right direction, so I don't just, Lewis and Clark without Sacagawea is in really big trouble out there. Okay, so I want to take a quick break here. We're talking with Emily Balayev-Braun, or Emily Braun. You can see her at emilybraun.com. And we're talking about freedom of movement and international lifestyle consulting. And I don't even know what kind of stamp to put on the name of this, but we'll be back in just a minute and we'll talk about the politics of it, how this affects companies and hiring. And I have a whole lot of philosophies on this, so I'll try to let you speak as much as I can, Emily, but we will be right back.
Thank you.